This is a 2007 Gas EC300. So this is the two-stroke, and there's no battery, there's no electric start, any of those gizmos. The speedo stopped working. Well, it would work, then it wouldn't. It would come on for a second and go out for 5 or 10, then come on. They were the sorts of symptoms. Now normally you'd think it's a loose wire, and you can see just at the top of the screen there where I've put all this shrink wrap and whatever on previously, because the wires did fray after, actually only in the first year or two of owning this bike, and I got it new. But looks like what it is this little green thing here is a capacitor, and this is the original one, which was purple. You can see the camera will pick it up or not. The little leg things are gone. This is the new one, or another new one I got. That's the same as what's actually on the bike now. The long side is positive, which goes onto the red wire. Short side's negative, which goes onto the black wire. And so this is the little connector. It's coming up from under the fuel tank area around the steering stem, and it's got this yellow one, which probably brings the signal for the rev counter. And the black and the red, I assume, are the power circuits for the whole speedo rev counter cluster unit thing, whatever it's called. And yeah, I can only assume that the capacitor lost its capacity to do its job, and now it's working since I put that new one on there. And the other thing, just while we're in this department here, because I did a little fix on this the other day as well, is the clock on these things. Because there's no battery on the bike, the clock will lose its time as soon as you stop the engine, or within a minute or so. And as you can see, I've got up here, this is a 9-volt battery. Jump up there a bit. That's just a 9-volt battery, and I've just got a little connector here from Jaycar, which is actually where I got the capacitor, and I've just spliced into the white and the brown wire. In fact, you can see a bit of fraying happening there on the brown wire. So if my clock stops working, I'll assume it's finished fraying and actually broken again, but I'll probably know how to fix that at that time. So that's the couple of issues that I've had with this particular bike, and I assume it's probably common with this model. So you can see, obviously it's not running. See if we can get the camera to focus down on the, see the clock running there. It's currently 6:10. And if I fire her up, so now we've got our rev count, and the speedo will work if I can get enough speed. So there you go. And so now that's it, just the clock's on there, that's because of the battery, otherwise you would have just lost your time setting again, which is pretty inconvenient. You have to pull your phone out to check what the time is all the time. So the 9-volt battery is a pretty good little trick to do to these things as well. So there's a couple of might be frustrating, because you know it's one of those electronic things, whatever, and you think, I don't even know where to start. And I tested mine. I just run a positive and negative off the battery of my car, because it's 12 volt, and I just jumped in your bike won't have these connectors on it unless somebody's done something similar to what I've done. So I just hooked my positive and negative of my car up to this, and with the broken capacitor still in there, but except obviously I'd bypassed it, and then all the speedo and whatever up here started working again because it had a supply of power. So these capacitors must just turn the AC to DC and regulate the voltage, whatever, to make it work without having a battery on the bike and whatever. And now that's they won't look like that when you take your headlight off and have a look in here, because you can see the capacitor it's in line of roughly mimicked what it looks like from new, and that was sort of all taped up or shrink wrapped or whatever. They obviously did a better job than I did. So yeah, don't expect to see it hanging out in the breeze like that. But if you look for this plug with the red, black and yellow, at least on Australian bikes, and then just look past it, and you'll probably see the little shrink wrap about where the capacitor is there, and that's most likely your fix. And as I say, if you just run a power lead off a 12 volt battery, your speedo will probably start working, or the speedo won't unless you move the bike. But yeah, I found all the functions and that returned to normal on mine as soon as I run a 12 volt into it. So the capacitor was 50 cents from Jaycar, and you can see I've just mounted my 9 volt just to the bracket. You see the mounting bolt for the speedo there and there, and I've just put a cable tie there, and that's actually been there for half a dozen or more years now, and that battery's never moved. It's pretty tight to you've got to wedge it in there a bit, but that's where I'm at mine, and I'm yet to just finish insulating my wires and tidying up there, of course, and I'm good to go again. So given these things are 10 years old or whatever now, I don't know about other models. As I say, this is a 2007, so if you've got an earlier or a later one, it might be slightly different, and most likely if it's a electric start with a battery, it'll probably be completely different. But I wouldn't mind guessing that if you've got an earlier one and you have pull your headlight off and have a bit of a look, and looks like there's a capacitor in there, that's probably what your issue is. If you've got the same symptoms that I have, which is the speedo coming on and going off, or the frayed wire syndrome, like this brown one in here. So they're the two issues I've had with it. Caused me a little bit of grief, and at least the conrod's hanging out the side of the block or something, you can sort of go, oh darn, looks like it's broken something there. But electrical stuff's a bit different, unless you're a auto elec or whatever. So that's the two fixes. So if you've just acquired an earlier gas similar to this one, and the speedo's not working, it might be 50 cents for one of these down at Jaycar, and I think that was about 75 cents for the little clip thing here for the battery. And the battery goes into the brown and the white, so red is positive, goes into the brown, and white is negative, all the black coming off the battery goes into the white, which is negative. And this main one bringing the power from the ignition system up to the speedo unit is black and red, with this connector on it here and probably the capacitor nearby. So yours is probably, as I say, if it's a pre-electric start one, it's most likely very similar, but I'll take no responsibility for any of that. The capacitor, this is a different brand than what was on there. It's a 100 UV, which is some microfarads or something like that, and 35 volt DC, so it's 100 UF 35 V DC, volts DC. I'll leave a link in the description, just the one I got off Jaycar. and good luck with yours.